Daily conversation for the trades. I am your host, Christine Marie. I'm excited about tonight's conversation. We are talking about how do trade companies, home services, B2B, B2C, improve their brand visibility online. And y'all, this is such an important question because if our customers don't find us, they can never use us and hire us. And so, in order for us to first be found, that's really the key question. And so, with this brand identity and brand visibility, there's something where brand visibility is different than marketing. It's different than just going out and doing blanketed ads everywhere. There's a difference when it's actually your brand and you're really showing up in an authentic way. And so actually yesterday we talked about the core tenets of what constitutes a strong brand and really being able to be authentic. And we talked about the importance of your values. And I'm not talking about the list of values that you stamp up on a wall and everybody walks away from and forgets. I'm talking about the lifeline of your business where every single business decision is actually flowing from your values, and your values are powering the decisions you make, the yeses and the nos, who you partner with, who you hire, who you fire. All of our values are so incredibly important because they're the through line of and into every single, not just our entire company, every single space of our company, but into every single person's house that we serve, into every single job site. So our values cannot be overstated in their importance. And when we're really, truly authentic, leading from that place of we're values driven, man, it's going to end up attracting the right people because that's what's going to be showing up. So, brand identity, having your brand visible, you actually need to have a strong brand to begin with. So it's not just the values, but it's also really keeping in our mind's eye the experience. What's the actual experience of the customer at every single point of the journey? And when I say experience, I'm talking about a true holistic experience where it's not just they receive a text, but what's the email they're getting? What's the follow up phone call they're getting? How long does it take? What's the personal touch point where they're actually engaging with a person, not just AI or not just a text on their phone. So the personal experience at every single touch point, and is it consistent per department? Because the customer journey is moving from department to the next. And so we have to be consistent with that. And then the third and final piece, values is number one, experience is number two, but then emotion. What is the emotion we want people to experience throughout the entire journey of working with us? What's the experience and the emotion we want our employees to have working with us? And y'all, values inform the experience that create the emotion. And so that is a strong brand. And so when we're talking about brand visibility, that's what we're talking about. And yes, there's tactics. That's the principle of a brand. And now let's talk about the practice of a brand showing up and really gaining visibility. Um, Y'all, the first one that I want to talk about is Google My Business. This cannot be overstated. Google My Business is so incredibly important, not just for reviews, not just to make sure that you're found, but in an ongoing, updating way where, y'all, this is really hard to outsource. Yes, you can get a vendor to come in and own your Google My Business. But the thing is that the more your project managers, the more your even sales, the more your team is actively involved in the local business listing that they represent in their geography, the more they're actually able to upload pictures on the job site. And here's the thing. If I'm serving Frederick, Maryland, and then my colleague is serving Gaithersburg, Maryland, well, now if I'm posting a job and a picture from that job and I am physically on that Frederick job site versus my colleague who's in the Germantown at a Germantown homeowner's house and he's physically at the Germantown or Gaithersburg home and then they post the picture, Google is paying attention to our geographical footprint. So yes, I can say I service these areas, but the more we're actually posting proactively, consistently on a daily basis from the different areas we serve, man, Google ranks you so much higher than your competitors, who most of them are not doing that because most businesses outsource Google My Business. I highly advise against that. Really take ownership of your Google My Business. Teach your team how to take a picture. It doesn't need to be fancy. Teach your team that that is one of the best ways to build visibility. And then here's the thing, if you want to have it be brand visibility, not just marketing visibility, teach your team the types of almost, you can have it kind of fill in the blank of I'm standing or I'm here at this location serving my homeowner named Mary, and you're not giving away personal information. It's just Mary's name. There's a lot of Marys. And we just completed a ground improvement or foundation repair project for Mary. We were able to install X number of piers or maybe footings. And we were able to complete this within 7 days. And Mary and her husband, Jim, are so excited and so thrilled because they're going to be having their new baby girl in just a couple of weeks. And we were so happy to get this job for her done. And maybe in Gaithersburg, someone says something pretty similar. We were so happy to get this job done before the holidays. We know how the ground freezes and then it can take a long time. And we want their basement secured for Christmas and melting snow. You'll add in a little bit of story, add the context, add the pictures, because the more that we're doing that boots on the ground physically associated with that job and then personalizing it, the more Google pays attention to it, trust me. And so the more we're actually able to take ownership for Google My Business, that's one of the most important things. And that's organic ranking. It takes time, but let's stop paying such high dollar for our leads and simply work it into our SOPs so that that's just part of a good job. And then the other part of the SOP is, hey, Jim and Mary, would you guys be willing to give us a review? And then you've got the Google review, you've got the photo, and you've got the post associated with that job. And there's congruency there. And then Google sees Mary and Jim's post that calls out Christine, who is boots on the ground, who just posted the picture. So it's this big old happy functioning wheel, and Google really, really pays attention to it. Y'all, there's a lot of competition. And so you doing that lets the algorithm know and future customers know, man, we are really people first if that's a value for you. So you can have your brand, the integrity of the brand, talking about the values, the experience, and the emotion. Did you catch that? We value people first. We value how the experience is, and we value their emotion. And this is how they felt. So talking about the transformation in the review that we leave, and the review that they leave, but then also we're effectively creating our own review for our own business by way of posting that picture. So think that way. Review forward, both in what we ask our customers to do and how we and our team shows up online in Google Business Profile. Another thing, personal brand. So if you want your trade business to grow in brand visibility, y'all, oh man, I love this topic, personal branding. I was actually just doing training with a whole bunch of business development managers, and we were talking about the need for them to be cultivating their personal brands because referral partners are watching, potential big general contractors are watching. And here's the thing. The more that you're positioning your personal brand and putting that out into the world as a thought leader, the more you're positioning yourself and thus your business for growth and scale and potential ownership, like being sold and having new ownership come in. And then you get to move to the next thing. Maybe you want to start another business. You've already built the trust equity with your environment, with your community, so that when it's time to acquire another business or time to sell your existing business or just scale it, you need to hire new people. Well, you're talking about the culture. You're talking about your values. You're talking about the experience of the employees and the customers, how they feel. If you're consistent showing up in your own personal brand, in your own personal LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, showing up consistently allows for the business to be well positioned for whatever your goals are to take the business wherever you want to head, whatever the direction is. And then lastly, YouTube. This is one of the most effective places that we've really been able to see leaps and bounds for our clients. One in particular, they had really just been relying on Google Ads. And Google Ads, you're paying a high ticket dollar. You're paying against competitors. You're all paying and vying for the same keywords. Well, the more that you build brand equity and trust before the customer needs you to begin with through YouTube ads, we've got the videos. You're talking about the brand, values, experience, and emotion, the more they're actually going to be well positioned and subconsciously prepared to choose you over competitors when the time comes. So yes, pay for Google Ads, sure, but the more you're doing the organic ranking and coupled with YouTube advertising, the better. And y'all, the videos don't need to be super fancy. The videos just need to be authentic. So the more you know who you are, the more those videos are going to resonate with people. Brian, I'm so glad you're here. You say, how do you define success? The context I would give is I think everyone has their own definition of success because we each have a different mission. So for me, success is that I can look back on my life. I can look back on today. We'll make it more granular, but I can look on back on the day and be proud of how I lived, how I showed up, how I loved, how I served, how I gave, how I utilized and alchemized my unique skill set. Am I proud of the life I'm living? Am I proud of the legacy I'm creating right here, right now? So that's how I would define success. And I'd love to hear your definition of success. And frankly, y'all, this is a really important question. So many of us don't ask it. And then we get to a midlife crisis or the end of our lives, God forbid. And we look back and we're like, what did I just do? And so this question, how do you define success? Is so incredibly important. And when I actually get into the weeds, I have success targets for each category of my life. And the categories are physical health, emotional health, even mental health, like cognitive health, uh, spiritual health, financial health. What is the success target for each one of those? And then I go further than that. What's the KPI? What's the key performance indicator? What are the indicators that help me know spiritually I'm on the right track? I'm exhibiting these behaviors and exhibiting these types of mannerisms and actions are showing up in my life. That shows that I am or am not on the right track. Same goes for financial, physical, emotional, cognitive. So we need to define our target and then also define what are the KPIs that show and indicate whether I'm on the right track or not. Um, Brian, I'd love to hear your definition of success. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this daily conversations for the trades. Y'all, there's a lot when it comes to building a strong brand. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We actually offer a free marketing consultation over at foundationfirstmarketing.com. My co-founder, Leandra, she's wonderful, and we'd be happy to talk with you, review your website, review your brand and your marketing, and see what we can do. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you